So this morning we're going to attempt replacing the TFI ignition module. I've got the common Ford problem where after the car runs for a little bit, I am unable to start the car when the car is hot. This is one of the options. There is a way to test this, but I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to replace it. The other thing is I'm putting a new plug in while I'm at it. I know the wiring is terrible in this, which could be part of the problem that I have. We use butt connectors to connect it and shrink tape or shrink wrap. You're gonna have to get one of these ignition module wrenches. It's used to take these two bolts out. Supposedly a regular socket won't do it because the walls are too thick on it, so this is made to get in there. One thing I would suggest though, they make another version that's more like a wrench. I just tried this real quick and it looks like it's gonna be a little bit hard to get it out, but I think I can put a wrench on the end of this. That's the way it's made. And then the other piece is you need to use thermal paste on the back side of the ignition module. A lot of online articles, I've even seen videos, everybody references dielectric grease. But the distributor works as a heat sink, and we're gonna use thermal paste because that allows heat to conduct from this unit into the distributor itself, rather than dielectric grease. Dielectric grease is not made to conduct. So I had to go to Best Buy to get this. It's like $8, and it's thermal paste, and this particular brand has the best conductivity of any of the other brands. So when you look on that, you'll see thermal conductivity 3.8. I assume that's, I'm not even going to pretend to translate that, but this had some of the best results or stats of any of the other stuff that they had. So the Corsair brand thermal paste. All right, so first step is I'm going to attempt to remove the existing module, which I'm just going to reach down under the distributor, put this bad boy on there, and I'm going to find a wrench that fits this, and we're going to take those two bolts out and remove the ignition module. So it was pretty easy to get the old one out. Using that tool that I bought. That tool is pretty good. You just put a 13mm open-end wrench on it and pop the bolt loose. And then these two little guys will come right out. Just be careful you don't drop them. This piece that's in there is not a Motorcraft part. And most of what I heard online is most people don't have really good results without the Motorcraft original parts, such as I bought here. This is made by Standard. Never heard of it. The other thing is the thermal paste on the back is thoroughly gone. It's not really on there anymore. This is really dry. So the conductivity of heat into the distributor probably wasn't the best either. So the combination of those two things probably made this thing fail or just become intermittent. At least I hope, fingers crossed. So at this point, we're going to start working on the wiring harness before I attempt to put the new part in. So I should have caught this when I put the cart together originally, but if you look at the ignition module plug, this thing is literally Frankensteined together. You look inside here, you've got a butt connector right on the end of it. We got some shrink tubing. We've got wires exposed on the end. I'm surprised this car's even running. So we're gonna clip this thing off one wire at a time and reattach it with something that's healthier looking, such as this, with brand new wire. Yeah, so we're gonna do this one at a time. We're gonna use butt connectors, and I've got some shrink tubing here. This is shrink tubing, I got it off Amazon. I thought it was gonna be some really cheap stuff, but this stuff is phenomenal. Really, really like it, shrinks up good. It's got a glue inside that seals everything up. So we're gonna use that to make a nice tight seal. And sometimes I solder all my connections, actually most of the time, but recently I switched to butt connectors. It's got more of a mechanical grip on it, combined with shrink tubing. Seems to work really well, so we're gonna go that route today. So one of the things me and my son did was went ahead and put butt connectors on the end of each one of the connections. This is my pip plug. I redid the plug for the pip, put a blade connector in so it holds tighter. I kept having problems with this pip connector coming apart and really messing up my ignition. It caused my manifold to get red hot and all kinds of other weird stuff. So I'm using a blade connector for my pip, and then these are the other wires for the TFI. So this is set up, and now I'm going to cut off the old harness, put this on with crimps, and then use this heat shrink wrap to go around the crimp joint, which will make it nice and strong, and there won't be a lot of mechanical pressure right where the crimp joint is. It'll take some of that pressure off of there, giving us a much stronger connection. All right, so I got all 6 of these crimped up, and I made sure these connections are tight. And now we have all of our shrink tubing, which we're going to slide over each one of these. And don't forget to put your shrink tubing on here. We're going to slide this up, and we're going to proceed to use a heat gun to shrink all of these up. And at that point, we're going to be done. And I'll connect my pip connector cable into this blade connector, and we'll be good to go. So I put my thermal paste on my new Motorcraft TFI module. Just put some on there, and now I'm going to install this on the distributor. But first, we're cleaning with alcohol the side of the distributor to get the old paste off. You know, for this thermal paste stuff to work, you need metal to metal contact with the thermal paste in the middle. So we're using alcohol, and we're just going to go down the distributor and wipe it off. So this is really hard to see, but TFI module is below the distributor. And all I did was push up on it like a plug and push it into place. And now we're going to put the 2 screws in with the little tool and with the 2 little bolts. And then we put the harness plug back on, and this job is done.
So I don't know, what do you think? Maybe this TFI plug has anything to do with some of the weird ignition issues that I may be running into. This kind of looks like the clown of ignition plugs. You can see the wires hanging out there. You got butt connector right on the end of it. Yeah, this thing is thoroughly jacked up. So, car did run better on a test run. Much better, actually. The idle is way off now, though. So I'm hoping that I go back in Tuner Studio and retune the idle. We had to do some weird stuff to get the idle working in Tuner Studio. So maybe we can go back to more normal settings and see how it runs then. Anyway, like and subscribe. I have a lot more video content coming out, mainly around the Fox body. Some stuff around my JX35 I'm working on. We just painted these wheels. They didn't come out the best, but it looks better than what it did.